After the mass shooting in downtown Sacramento, a man says his daughter is alive today because a homeless man shielded her from the gunfire. Tom Orozco was picking up his daughter and her 3 friends downtown just after when he heard the gunfire and chaos. "I was on the phone with them," he said. "I heard the shots out the window and the shots on my phone. Then, the phone died. Immediately, I said, I got to find them, Orozco said. He searched frantically as the horrific scene unfolded. What he didn't know was that all 4 young women, whose identities he is protecting, were huddled and pulled into a tight alcove by a homeless man named Tim. They ran down here and Tim was sleeping there, Orozco said. My daughter had fallen and Tim helped her up, and, he said, come in here, and brought them where it was safe. He literally stood up to protect them from anybody that came. Orozco snapped a photo when the family came back days later to thank Tim. He was willing to put himself in the line of fire, no doubt, Orozco said. Now, the family is trying to track him down again, offering a hand up for his heroic act. It's a reminder that there's good people out here, Orozco said, and he's one of those good people. 2. A woman survived being held hostage from a crazed gunman after the attacker was tackled by a 61-year homeless man, who was shot in the ensuing struggle, losing his life for his act of bravery. The incident occurred in Brazil, where the harrowing footage was captured on camera. The woman was being held hostage at gunpoint on the steps of the famed São Paulo Cathedral in Brazil by the armed man, later identified as 49-year-old Luis Antonio da Silva. Francisco Erasmo Rodrigues de Lima, a homeless man from São Paulo, valiantly fought with Silva to save the woman from any harm, yet suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the chest in the process, causing him to die on the scene. Police shot Silva not long after the scuffle, and it has come to light that the assailant has a long history of criminal activity, having been sentenced to 22 years in jail for theft and causing bodily harm. Francisco's selfless sacrifice has not gone unnoticed. Man sentenced to 4 years for fatal beating of homeless man. A 32-year-old man from Campbell River, BC, has been sentenced to 4 years in prison for the beating death of a 59-year-old homeless man in October 2020. Justin William Arnett was sentenced on March 7 for his role in an assault that left Dean Dool dying on the sidewalk outside a Campbell River bank. Arnett has been in custody since January 2021, 5 days after he was arrested for robbing a woman who was sleeping outside the Campbell River Library. He was credited with 3 years and 7 weeks for time he has already served, reducing his remaining sentence to 10 months and 1 week for the manslaughter charge. The judge's decision says Dool was drinking a beer inside the foyer of a downtown bank on October 15, 2020. He finished his beer and stepped out into the autumn air around 10:30 p.m. Arnett was also out that night with 2 others when they encountered Dool and believed he made a racist comment about indigenous people directed at them. The ensuing argument was captured on security camera video. Arnett pushed Dool and the pair exchanged words for approximately 35 seconds. Dool then pulled a knife and waved it at Arnett, who pushed the blade away several times, according to the court. 25 seconds later, Arnett threw a punch at Dool, striking him in the face and knocking him off the sidewalk and onto the street. While Dool was on the ground, Arnett punched and kicked him in the head, briefly stepping away and returning 3 times to deliver more blows. Arnett and one of his friends picked up Dool, who was motionless by this point, and moved him up onto the sidewalk and against the wall of a building. While Dool was slumped against the wall, Arnett continued to beat him before he finally left the area and went to a nearby gathering place, where staff noted signs suggesting that he was intoxicated, the judge wrote. Dool laid on the sidewalk for a time before getting to his feet and falling again, striking his head on the ground. Paramedics transported the man to the hospital where he later died. Arnett was arrested 3 months later after he and another man assaulted and stole a cell phone and backpack from a woman who was sleeping outside Campbell River's downtown library. During a police interrogation, Arnett became emotional when was shown video of his earlier altercation with Dool. He expressed how sorry he was and stated he was sorry to Mr. Dool and his family, the judge wrote. He also expressed he felt overwhelming guilt. Family and friends of Dool provided victim impact statements to the court, describing grief, sadness and a void in the wake of their loved one's death. Doole's sister said she was left broken-hearted by her brother's death and has difficulty sleeping. Doole's partner said she feels lingering guilt and struggles to pass by the area where her partner was assaulted. The Crown prosecutor sought a prison sentence of 7 to 8 years for the manslaughter charge and 18 months for the robbery. The defense lawyer argued a 4-year sentence, minus time served, was appropriate for both charges, given Arnett's minimal criminal history, prospects for rehabilitation and experiences as an Indigenous man. Following his release from custody, Arnett will serve 2 years of probation. He is prohibited from possessing firearms, crossbows, ammunition or explosives for 10 years after his release from custody. A homeless man who risked his life to save the life of a DC police officer was reunited with his family this week after they spotted him on TV. They hadn't seen him in 8 years and had thought he was dead. John Burroughs jumped into action when he saw another homeless man attacking a police officer in downtown DC the morning. The officer was responding to a report of an assault when the man turned on him and stabbed him in the head with scissors. Burroughs helped get the man under control. "I was really mad at the guy for just stabbing him for no reason. That made me mad," Burroughs told News 4 later. "They're my cops. This is my city and I don't want you stabbing them." Burroughs' niece, Renee Dupero, saw him on News 4 that night. The DC Department of Human Services helped find Burroughs, get him a place to live and raise more than $20,000 for help him get back on his feet. When Burroughs and his niece saw each other on for the first time in years, they hugged for a long, long time. DC Chief of Police Peter Newsham met with them and said Burroughs' actions will never be forgotten.